The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're talking about every single team's biggest need post the 2025 NFL Draft heading into the 2025 season. Metro, you ready to go?
Yes, sir. Everything what this team needs, we'll be covering it today.
All right, first on our list, Metro, we have the Arizona Cardinals, because alphabetical order, of course. We're going to go 3-2-1 and say their biggest need at the same time. Hopefully it's the same thing, and then if it's a team that's got more things to work on, it's probably going to be something different. That's going to be the theme of today you'll see going forward. So let's start at the Cardinals. I'm going to hit a 3-2-1 answer after the one, of course. Got to give it a pause for dramatic effect, right? 3-2-1, then the word. You ready to go? You ready to do this thing?
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Arizona Cardinals, their biggest need heading from the 2025 NFL Draft is going to be 3, 2, 1.
Offensive
experience.
Line. Ooh. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you one bit.
Me neither, buddy. I totally agree with what you said. You explain the offensive line first, and I'll kind of dive into my kind of answer with experience.
Yeah, this was an offseason where, man, they made a lot of good moves. I always kind of felt like they needed a true cornerback one, but then you brought in Will Johnson, and I kind of have like this little bit of faith in him to where if he could just stay healthy, he could be the guy. So I look at this team, and defensively they are really good. Like they can maybe use another reliable pass rusher, but that's, down the line. I look at the offensive line. Paris Johnson Jr. I feel good about. Jonah Williams is good, but I think you can find an upgrade. And then the interior, there's some positions there that I think you can find some upgrades in. But in terms of your experience idea, yeah, they need playoff experience. It's a lot of younger pieces with, especially on the offensive end, they need that playoff conditioning. And frankly, this could be a year where they make the playoffs, lose in round one, and then gain a crap ton of experience from it. And then in 2026, they really get the ball rolling. So I like your idea too.
Thanks, man. And yeah, just to harp on what you said, O-line could definitely use some tweaks. And then with the experience, kind of like you just mentioned, when teams have been in it, like the Chiefs, they know what to expect heading back into the playoffs the next year. I think you've mentioned this before. At least I'm going to speak for both of us. We really like this roster. It's heading in the right direction, at least in my eyes. Yeah, we agree there. Now can these young pieces just gain some experience? Like if Walter Nolan develops, oh my goodness. Nolan, yes, correctly. The third. Walter Nolan the third. If he develops, man, he's going to be special. And like you said, if Will Johnson, if he can stay healthy, this defense takes a huge step forward. And Marvin Harrison Jr., man, I think he's going to pan out for sure. I think everybody feels that way. But just experience will help that develop even more. And Kyler, he will get the ball to him as well. And I like Paris Johnson Jr. at left tackle. Here we go. Can the Cardinals do it? That's all I got to say, man. Cardinals, you're on the right track, man. Just keep your eyes forward and collect some more pieces, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, it's one of the better rosters in the NFL. They've made a lot of good moves, a lot of good changes. And if you believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler can really get that connection going, then this should be a full functioning machine next year that I still think needs a few more pieces on the offensive line and, like you said, a year of experience. But, man, when they get that experience, when they fix this O-line, and, man, it's going to be a nasty team with a lot of good members. So I like this roster quite a bit. Do you want to move on to the Atlanta Falcons?
Let's go for it. Would absolutely love to. For the Atlanta Falcons, what is their biggest need of the 2025 year? Metro, you ready to do this?
Let's go.
3, 2, 1. Wide
Interior
receiver.
Defensive line. Ooh, wide receiver. Okay.
This is.
I went first, so I'll let you explain your receiver part.
All right. On this team, you have Drake London, and yes, you have Pitts, but I think it's missing that thing to put them over the edge. Now you got Bijan that you can rely on, which really helps in your offensive scheme, but I think one more really good piece could help this offense out a ton. Just my thought, is it the biggest need? In my eyes, I think it is. I think this team is really well-rounded. Interior could help a lot, too. So that's where I stand. Metro, what do you think about the interior of the defense like you were mentioning?
Yeah, for me, I think this team just needs – I mean, you do have some pieces from last year's draft, like with Rook. I'm not going to say the last name. It's just too many words. And then David Onyemata is getting a little bit older. He's 32 years old. Kentavious Street, you're not getting too much from. He's also 28. So I think they just need a bit more pieces on the interior defensive line because you address the edge with Jalen Walker, with Braylon Trice last year, and then, of course, with James Pierce Jr., I think because you lost one of your pieces in the interior this offseason, you need to replace those guys, which they haven't quite yet done. Going to your receiver thought process, I do think going next to Drake London, of course, you have Darnell Mooney, who had a good year last year, but it's a little bit questionable if he can repeat that. And then outside of those two, there's just, Ray McLeod is there, Daryl Hodge. So there's some names there, but I think they could really use like a go-getter. And then tight end, that is also, what are we getting from Kyle Pitts at this stage? So it's a good roster that's definitely heading in the right direction. I like their coach, but I want to see the coach succeed. He hasn't quite yet been able to do so. And offensive line's getting a little bit older, so maybe you could find some upgrades there. But yeah, for me, one more dominant piece in the middle of the defensive line, and like you said, another receiver could definitely do some justice for this team.
Awesome. That's what we have for the Atlanta Falcons. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens. You ready to do this?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yep. There we go. We're bound to get at least one same here.
Just one.
It's kind of the only need they have. Like, this is a really complete team. I will say I did consider corner because Chidobe Awuzie, I just don't know what I'm getting from him because he's consistently injured and just not the greatest player. But you drafted TJ Tampa last year, and then you also drafted Robert Longerbeam this year. So I kind of backed off of that one, not to mention Bill Howe Cone. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. But
you did good.
A lot of pieces in the secondary, not to mention you drafted Nate Wiggins last year. So I considered that, but receiver to me is the biggest one. Zay Flowers is a superstar. He's a great player. I just don't know if he's like a true go-getter number one option. And then Rashad Bateman, let's be honest, has been a little bit disappointing in his career. Like, he has gotten better, and I say this past year was his best year, but he just hasn't been great. And I think you can find an upgrade there. And then this year you're relying on DeAndre Hopkins. So it kind of tells you that this team needs more pieces there. I would like to see like one more lengthy receiver, almost like, in a sense, like a Ted McMillan, which obviously there's only one of him, but if you could have gotten somebody like him, that would have been nice. And unfortunately, I don't know if they drafted. They did draft LaJohntay Wester, but they didn't really do too much in the draft. So I think they need another receiver, maybe even the first round next year, if one happens to fall to them.
Couldn't have said it better, man. The team is just so well-rounded. We're just picking at straws at this point.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of problems with this team. From the coaching staff, from experience, from the offensive line, from the defense. Like, this is one of those teams that consistently just does the right thing and just takes best value and then lets those guys develop. And then once somebody leaves, the other guy steps in and makes plays. And when there's a good player on their team, they don't typically let them go. Like Matabike, they just paid. Marlon Humphrey, of course, they're doing the same with all these other guys. They don't let people out the door when they have good players unless they absolutely have to, or they have backup plans. And they just do a great job. It's one of the best organizations out there. But I think receiver is a bit of a need for them, and at some point they'll definitely address it.
Couldn't have said better, man. Let's go to the Buffalo Bills. You ready to go?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Weapons.
Wide receiver. Same thing.
Same thing. Potato, potato.
Yep.
The only reason I said weapons is just because, like, tight end, I like what I see in Kincaid, just don't love it. I want to see something big this year, a step forward, and then wide receiver. It's just Keon. Keon's awesome, man. But just
he's cool.
He needs to develop, correct? And then we need something else.
Yeah, I went receiver. I also considered safety and another edge. But you did take Landon Jackson, and you addressed your secondary room with Maxwell Hairston, so I kind of felt a bit more obligated to go with receiver because they didn't really address that in this year's draft. With that said, Khalil Shakir is a great player, especially in more of that slot role. Keon Coleman's a fun player, but he needs to develop to become a bit more well-rounded. Dalton Kincaid has been, let's just kind of keep it a buck, a little bit disappointing. Like, He hasn't really been what they thought he could have been. He's had some good games. It's just never been terribly consistent, especially with Dawson Knox, still being their go-to guy. And you did take Joshua Palmer. You also brought in Elijah Moore. So there's some talented pieces here. It's just missing, a Stephon Diggs, right? That number one option for Josh Allen. I also could have went edge rusher, but Landon Jackson, Joey Bosa, AJ Epinesa. It's a good unit. And then safety, you also have Cole Bishop you're still developing. So, yeah, it's very similar to Baltimore where it's like this is a team that just can consistently get good play out of whoever. And they're just really talented. They're deep. They develop nicely. It's just one of those teams. And by the way, they took 3 defensive linemen in the first, I think, top 5 rounds. So it's pretty clear what they want to do. They want to stuff the run. They want to get to the quarterback. And not to mention Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hope, too. So it's pretty clear. Oh, and Joey Bosa. So it's pretty clear they want to get after the quarterback in as many waves as possible, which, by the way, is a smart move. And I like what they've done. So when we inevitably do a Bills preview, they're going to be winning a lot of games.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I think they already knew that's how you get to the quarterback and that's how you win, right? But you just watch Super Bowl where the Eagles just tear apart the Chiefs, and it just shows, hey, guys, you want to make it all the way? You got to get after the QB. And when you got to get through Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and the list just keeps going in the AFC, that's how you win.
Yeah, it's a good team. Not a lot of needs. Even with like weapons and receivers, we're kind of nitpicking.
We are.
So, and not to mention running back wise, there's a lot of rumors and reports that he might be out the door soon because I don't know if Buffalo wants to pay him. So they might need to find a replacement, though they do have Ray Davis. But just kind of some food for thought.
Cook to the Cowboys?
Don't get me going. I wouldn't mind that at all. That sounds good to me. Sounds great to me.
We're good with that, partner. All right, let's go down to Charlotte. Let's head for the Carolina Panthers. You ready to do this?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Edge
Bryce
rusher.
Young.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
I mean, Bryce Young. It's year 3, right?
True. Yeah.
He needs to step into final form. Doesn't have to be an all-pro by any means, but if Bryce Young is the quarterback they traded up for first overall, this team will be successful. Now, he showed flashes that at the end of the year. One of the best comebacks I've seen by a quarterback in a single season. The guy was, in purgatory. I felt so bad for him. Turns the whole thing around. If we get, versus the Chiefs, Bryce Young. If we get end of season, Bryce Young. That's the biggest need. That's what this team is absolutely desperately needing to make the next step.
Yeah, I went with edge rusher. I know you brought in Nick Scorton and Princely Omamielin, but I just think there needs to be one more guy to step up big time. Now, maybe DJ Wanham or Nick Scorton could be that. I really wanted this team to trade up for Abdul Carter. It didn't happen, but man, he would have been such a difference maker on this team. I look at their offense. It's one of the more, now I hope I say this properly, but it's one of the more complete units. It just kind of comes down to, like you said, Bryce Young becoming Bryce Young. And it's a good offensive line. Now you've brought in Ted McMillan next to Leggett, Coker, and Thielen, and your running back group is really nice. Not to mention, they also brought in Jimmy Horn Jr. and Hunter Renfrow. Hey, look, Hunter Renfrow can play, man. We'll see if he can play, if he can form a little role here on this team. And defensively, I consider corner as well. But I just ultimately felt like, man, one dominant 8+ sack a season type edge rusher would do wonders on this defense because it's a pretty deep unit with Tershawn Horton, Bobby Brown, Derek Brown, Shai Tuttle, all these other guys in the interior. It's just they need that go-to edge guy. And I think they have a bunch of good players, but they could really use one great player. And I can see this defense taking a big step forward. So that's why I went with edge rusher.
Great answer, man. Couldn't have said it better. You want to pivot to the Windy City in Chicago?
I guess so. Let's go to, we're in Chicago territory. Oh, yeah. I was thinking Cincinnati for whatever reason. Let's go to Chicago.
Let's head to Chicago. 3, 2, 1. Caleb
Running back.
Williams.
Yeah, okay. So you went similar path here.
Kind of went back to back. Yeah, I feel like I'm being kind of copycatty here, but they just happen to fall back to back. But yeah, go ahead with yours.
Yeah, I think running back for me. Initially I put down edge rusher because they could really use more depth there. But I'm assuming that Austin Booker takes a step forward, and you just brought in Dayoda Yingbo. So I think running back is a bigger need. I am just not a DeAndre Swift fan. I've been very vocal about that they should be very interested in drafting a running back. And yes, you took Kyle Monangai, but I just don't know if he's a big-time difference maker. He went late in the draft for a reason. So I would have liked to have seen Amarian Hampton or Quinshawn or just somebody, but they didn't do so, which was unfortunate. So I think next year that's the big thing. And going to what you said with Caleb Williams, I'm fully in agreement with you. This team has everything around him to succeed. It all just comes down to, can Caleb Williams be worthy of the number 1 pick? It's kind of crazy. We're already putting those expectations on him in year 2, but it's like, hey, I mean, one of the best offensive lines, at least on paper, probably, let's be honest, the best set of weapons. I mean, Moore, Dunze, Burden, Komet, Loveland, if they can reach their potential, it's just nasty. So I'll let you speak on it, but I definitely can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. Like you didn't even mention DJ Moore. Like, that's just how crazy that wide receiver room is. And there's just so many weapons. You can run 12 personnel with Cole Kmet, Loveland, DJ Moore, and Rome. That's the best 12 personnel in the league, in my opinion. I think that's absolutely stacked. Now, like we just mentioned, he doesn't have to be top 10. He doesn't have to be a star, but just one step forward. We saw him progress throughout late season. Just if he takes the next one, this team is going to be so damn good. I'm actually terrified.
Yeah, if the Bears can get quality play from this defense, which they will, and if they can get offensive line play from what they have last year, which they will, if this team gets Caleb Williams playing like a top 15 quarterback, they're going to be scary. They're going to be a legitimately good team because Ben Johnson's a great offensive mind. So for Caleb Williams, I mean, the pressure's on your shoulders, man. In year 2, you already have incredibly high expectations. Maybe fair or maybe unfair, but it's just the reality of the situation.
Heck yeah. Let's pivot to the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's do this. 3,
Let's go.
2, 1.
Offensive line.
A defense.
That's also very fair. Just a defense in general. That's fair enough. I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah. Cinci, I'll keep this short. Cinci got a great quarterback. He got 2 awesome wide receivers. Got a lot of other good players as well. He has some talent on the defense, just as a whole. We're missing something, man. Joe Burrow can't do it all. I think we need a lot of help. Not just one position is going to make a huge difference for this defense.
Yeah, I put offensive line just because I don't feel particularly great about Orlando Brown, but I feel good enough this upcoming season. I just worry about the interior of the offensive line. Like, you can't be running Cody Ford out there, Ted Karras, and Cordo Volson. You did bring in Dylan Fairchild. I think he can play, not to mention Lucas Patrick and Jackson Kirkland's there. We'll see what this interior looks like, but I would like to see some big-time upgrades within the future. Going to your defensive side of things, it's not a great defense. The only reason why I didn't pick a defensive position was because you bring in Shamar Stewart, you bring in Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter. There's some pieces you're hoping can actually develop, and kind of like Geno Stone was bad last year, but he was really good in 2023. So there's enough young pieces here and enough talent here on the defensive side to where I could see it being turned around. The offensive line, just especially in the middle, it needs a lot of work. So that's why I put offensive line.
Heck yeah. Let's go to who's next on our list? It's going to be Cleveland Browns, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Cleveland! Let's count it down. 3, 2, 1.
Offensive line.
Owner.
Oh, okay. Who's their owner?
Honestly, I don't know his name, but all I do know is that he called in to make the Shador pick, and I think Shador is an awesome pick. But clearly, like you mentioned earlier in our previous episode on Monday, this team drafted Gabriel. This team traded for Kenny Pickett. They also signed Joe Flacco, and they passed up on Travis Hunter's teammate. They did not have intentions of taking him. They had a direction, and I feel like their owner keeps steering off it. And I could be wrong here. I don't know the guy. I've never met him in my life. I don't even know his name. That's how bad this is. I just think the sense of direction is off, and that's the issue. Maybe not the owner, but the sense of direction is missing.
Yeah, for transparency, we are recording this right after we did the Browns video. By the way, check it out. It's a great video. We talk about the Browns. And our big senses from that video was this team felt like it was moving in the right direction in terms of building towards the future. And then their day 2 and day 3 picks just made no sense, right? Taking a running back as early as 36, taking a position of need in linebacker at 33 was just kind of questionable. And then drafting 2 quarterbacks and doubling down on running back was just weird, especially when the whole thought process of trading the number 2 pick down to go to 5 was to get that quarterback in 2026. It was just kind of a weird decision. And you look at this team, it's very far from being competitive right now. Transparency, again, we don't like this Browns team. We don't think it's going to be very good next year. We think, I don't want to give it away, we don't think they're going to win more than 10 games. That's your little teaser there.
That's
yeah, shocker, they're not going to win 10 games next year. Don't think anyone's shocked with that. But for me, I said offensive line. I just think it's an old unit with some expiring contracts coming up with a lot of injury history, and outside of DeJuan Jones, who I don't even think he's a full-time starter, and then Tevin Jenkins, who's already very injury prone. It's just not a very good unit, especially when they're injured and they're very old. So you got to find some replacements. I could have also went receiver because they desperately need something next to Jerry Jeudy. I could have also went edge rusher next to Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett's that good, so I didn't say that. And I could have said maybe some help in the safety room, but I feel good enough about it. So, it kind of just goes to tell you how many positions of need they need. And we didn't even talk about quarterback, which they also maybe could use because we don't know what this room looks like. Even though they have 5 on the roster, we think they need a 6th.
Just one more.
Yeah, one more. Let's. Who went undrafted in this year's quarterback room?
Dude, a handful. I was actually confused by. Let me look this up. If you give me a second.
I think they need the quarterback who went to UCF, KJ Jefferson. They need to pick him up. Pick up KJ Jefferson. Maybe run it back with Johnny Manziel again. We need a 6th guy.
Can't go wrong.
We need somebody to steer Shedeur Sanders in the right direction. I just think Johnny Manziel might be the perfect guy for him.
He's got to be the one.
Yeah, prime Johnny Manziel, not current day Johnny.
No.
We need him to go back to his A&M days where he was.
That's right. Win or lose, we booze.
Win and lose, we booze. It's a crazy statement, but yeah, win and lose, him and Shedeur are boozing.
That's right. Let's go to a team across the United States, the Dallas Cowboys, counting down from 3, 2, 1.
Wide receiver.
There you
All
go.
right, there we
matched again. Enough of my weird ones. We kind of landed on one. Guys, it's CeeDee Lamb and what? That's where we're at. I think they killed the draft. I think Metro also feels the same way. We loved their draft and who they got. Just a bunch of awesome talent. It just, we still need a wide receiver. CD gets hurt. I don't know what we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. So transparency, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I know this roster like the back of my hand. The offensive line is young, but it's developing, and I like it. Man, there's nothing outside of CeeDee Lamb. And the ground game is not good enough right now with the names they have to rely upon them. And like you mentioned, if Lamb goes down, it's Tolbert, it's Ryan Flournoy, it's Jonathan Mingo, it's Paris Campbell, it's Kevontae Turpin, it's Jalen Brooks, it's undrafted free agent Trayshawn Holden. It's just not very good. Yeah, Jake Ferguson too, but I don't know. Defensively, I feel good about the team. I could have went with a corner, but they just drafted Chavon Ravel, and I like him a lot. So I feel good about this roster in a lot of ways, but man. Now, granted, I did hear they're interested in Amari Cooper, bringing him back for a reunion. So I'm not totally against that. It wouldn't be the greatest pickup in the world because he was not very good last year. But it's better than no offense to Tolbert, but it's better than Tolbert. So we're in agreement here. For me, I specifically wrote wide receiver too because CeeDee Lamb's a dog. But outside of CD, man, it's weak. It's very weak. You cannot go into next year. Or I suppose you can't go into a year of trying to contend for championships with Tolbert and Turpin as your 2 and 3. So, we're in agreement.
Let's head to Denver. We have the Denver Broncos counting down from 3, 2, 1. Wide receiver. Oh,
hey, look at us, back to back.
I feel like a casual saying wide receiver so much, but it's the truth.
When you have a defense like this. And an offensive line like that.
There's nothing else to name.
And they did draft a running back this year in R.J. Harvey. Mm-hmm. For me, I specifically put wide receiver 2 because I like Sutton. It's just missing that upper echelon second option, and I would have loved Luther Burden on this team or Emeka Egbuka. But when they said Jahdae Barron, at first I was like, oh, okay, a defensive player. But then I was like, well, Jahdae freaking Barron. It's just a perfect fit for him. And he's going to look great in a Broncos uniform. That defense is just going to be filthy next year. Probably, I'm already kind of ready to pencil it in as the best defense in football, or at least this one of the best. My only concern for this team is that I don't know if there's enough weaponry that has experience and that I can trust in deep into a playoff run. Right? I obviously believe in Sutton. But can I believe in Vele? Can I believe in Franklin? Can I believe in Marvin Mims? Can I believe in R.J. Harvey? It's just a lot of questionable guys there that I want to buy into, but I just need to see it on the field. So
Totally.
I would have loved to have seen them be a little bit more aggressive in addressing receiver, but it's hard to be mad when, they have put together a defense like this.
That's right. And they did get Evan Ingram from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
True.
But
True.
No, I'm not going to pretend like he's a freak tight end, right? But he does contribute. But like you said, just one more piece because we're cherry picking for it just to make a better wide receiver core.
Yep. All right, your
Cool.
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Edge rusher.
Coordinators.
That's fair. Well, I think that's we will see. It's to be determined.
Correct. It is a we will see. I'm not trying to bet against them right now. I just think that is the biggest dagger to our team.
Yeah. When you lose who you lost in Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, it's going to be difficult to replace those guys. So I can definitely see your point there.
And then who'd you – I'm sorry. I overheard it echoed. What'd you say?
I said edge rusher. For me, outside of Aiden Hutchinson – it's not the best. Josh Pascal's there, Marcus Davenport, Muhammad, Ahmed, and Pat O'Connor. It's just not very good. And with Hutchinson coming off of a major injury like he was, or like he is, and even though he's looking great, by the way, I just don't know what I'm getting outside of those guys. So I'm just a little bit worried that they're going to be lacking. Now, I think in the interior, you get something from DJ Reader. You get something from Aleem McNeil. You get something from Levi. I think Tyreek can be somebody who can get some pressure on a quarterback. So the interior is pretty nasty. It's just they need people coming off the edge outside of Aiden Hutchinson, which I thought they would be a bit more aggressive in fixing, but it didn't seem like they were too concerned. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But, I just think it's very similar to Buffalo. It's very similar to Baltimore, where it's a really complete roster with not a lot of needs. For me, it just kind of came down to I would like to see one more edge rusher next to Hutchinson.
Couldn't have said better, man. That would have been my actual position, so you hit it right on the head. And then something I do want to call out, in 20 seconds, just to be frank. I've noticed a lot of teams, because we are get after the quarterback, pass rushing. I've seen a lot of teams respectable teams, switch kind of to interior run-stopping D linemen. Tyreek Williams, right? Drafted really high. Alfred Collins, that's what he is, went way higher than I expected. There's a couple other cases throughout the draft. I'm looking at it. Crawford, right, from Oregon. He went higher than I expected.
Yeah, Jamari Caldwell.
There you go. Jamari Caldwell. Thank you very much. I don't know why I said Crawford. These run-stuffing D tackles going higher than we all expected. Then maybe that's a sign that the league's flipping back to running back and running the ball. Maybe not fully because the rules have changed, but just something interesting I kind of thought about today in my free time.
I think there is some correlation there. I also think sometimes it's also the strength of the draft where there was a pretty deep edge interior defensive line class.
It's a great call.
But I also do think that anybody who was watching the Super Bowl could see what was happening to the Chiefs, where they were getting pressure from all angles, inside the middle, off the edge, because they couldn't run the football. And everyone knew it was going to be Mahomes over and over again. So if you can stuff the run, you can then force the other opposing team to be one-dimensional and throw the football a crap ton. And if they're doing that, you can build these edge rushers to really just put a lot of havoc on the quarterback. So that's kind of the recipe to win a lot of football games. And you're not kidding when you talk about the Bills with basically a lot of their picks and going after, stuff in the run and getting pressure up the middle. The Niners, even though I didn't love their draft, it was very clear they wanted to stuff the run. And now the Detroit Lions, it looks like they also want to do this. So, good call out by you. I definitely think that the league is trending towards those big boys up the middle are more important than, maybe even the edge rushers nowadays, which is kind of something to think about.
Football's back.
Yes, no more tush pushing. Maybe that's why actually they're doing it. They're just trying to build up against the Eagles. They're trying to ban it. So if they can't get a ban, they're just going to get as many freak dudes up the middle to try and stuff it. Which even then they'll probably not be successful.
No, it's a good attempt though. I'll tell you that. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Let's run it. 3, 2, 1. Corner.
Jigs.
Hey,
yep.
There you go.
When they drafted Matthew Gordon, I was like, yep, they just need a corner.
That's right. This team's really good, man. Jair's getting older. They were already trade rumors before the draft, and they just need another piece, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, Javon Bullard, although Javon can also play safety, Kalen King, Carrington Valentine, and then Jair. It's just not a great unit. Nate Hobbs was a fun pickup, but I don't know if it's a long-term solution, although it seems like they feel okay about it. If Jair's healthy, then sweet, right? He's a great cornerback, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And then there's also reports of him potentially going elsewhere. So I don't know what you're getting from Keyshawn Nixon or Isaiah Dunn or any of these guys. So it's a very it's kind of a dire need, and they didn't really address it in the draft either. So that either means they feel good about their group and they feel good about keeping Jair, or it's just that they just didn't pick those guys. So and it was weird because, man, this team has doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on the offensive line when it's like, hey, man, you could have invested that money into a nice corner. Like, this could be a team that could have Jalen Ramsey on the roster. But they're like, no, we want Aaron Banks. We want to spend a premier pick on Anthony Belton. They spent a first rounder on Jordan Morgan. It's like, dude, this is legitimately like a 7 to 8 rotation offensive lineman. Like, are they going to start rotating offensive linemen out there?
They should just have like a for sale sign, a garage sale for O-linemen.
But it's crazy because they just keep doing it. And I guess maybe they're building towards the future, but it's like, dog, you already have Rasheed Walker, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan, Elton Jenkins, Aaron Banks, and then you drafted Jordan Morgan last year. And then, hey, we'll also bring in Anthony Belton this year too. And I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, who's getting kicked out the door here? Who's out the door? I mean, you're going to pay Zach Tom. I think Rasheed Walker's good enough. So yeah, I don't know.
The biggest O-line room in the NFL.
Oh, dude, it's a big unit. It's a strong unit. It's a good unit. Just like, dog, you have a lot of other needs you could have fixed up here. You still need an edge rusher. You still need a corner. But, hey, you triple, quadruple all the way down on offensive linemen, which, hey, we are offensive line dudes. We like it. But
we love it.
At some point, it gets a little ridiculous, and this is a little ridiculous.
They're obsessive. Who can blame them?
Yeah.
Good talks about the Green Bay Packers. Next, we have the Houston Texans.
Oh, well, do we even have to count down this one? This is pretty obvious.
Offensive line?
Yeah, offensive line. No countdown needed. It's offensive line. If it was anything else, I'd be like, whoa, okay, it's offensive line. Like, This is – I'll let you take this one because I kind of talked about Green Bay's offensive line, but, man, it's a weird unit for Houston. New faces, stopgap guys, drafted Arion Territory. I'll let you kind of take the reins on this one.
So, Texans, right, going into this offseason, they trade away Laramie Tunsil. Now they want to reinvent the locker room culture. That's cool, man, but at what price? Your left tackle is a huge deal, and he also had a pretty dang good year. You send him away. You got Cam Robinson from Minnesota. Not a bad move, but on a one-year contract, I should know. He's trying to have a good year and then get out of there and get paid. Maybe paid on the same team, who knows. But anyways, glaring needs on the interior and then also at tackle, especially after Cam Robinson is gone. They did get Essery from Minnesota in the second round. That isn't, personally, I think Essery would be good over time. Good, keyword. That doesn't make me feel Laramie Tunsil good about this offensive line, and there was already work to begin with. They get Laken Tomlinson as well, Ingram from Minnesota, and then Trent Brown from Cincinnati. Not my cup of tea, personally. There's work to be done, and C.J. Stroud, man, keep your head on a swivel this year because they think you can avoid the sacks and you're good in the pocket. That's what this tells me, or it just tells me they just don't care. And they're going to punt to next year. But what do you think, Metro?
I think there's a chance they have 4 to 5 new starters next year. Cam Robinson at tackle, Trent Brown at tackle. You also brought in Jake Andrews, who I thought was going to retire, but I guess is coming back for another year here. Oh no, I'm thinking of David Andrews, so wrong Andrews. But Jake Andrews is also here. I don't know. It's a new offensive line. I mean, Titus Howard will probably play a role in this offensive line. Ursery's probably going to play a role somehow. It just feels like this is a temporary unit, and it almost looks like it's probably going to kill C.J. Stroud at some point. He's going to have some games with 6-7 sacks, and it's just going to be ugly. And, man, it feels like at this point it's a little ridiculous that they're still struggling to put together competent offensive lines. Like, this has been a major issue from year one, and we're still – I mean, we saw the Chicago Bears rebuild their offensive line in like a week. I'm not saying it's that easy like the Chicago Bears made it look like, but, man, you couldn't have done something like that? Like, some really good players on the board here, and your first thought process was, hey, let's get rid of Laramie Tunsil. Like, whoa, okay, your best offensive lineman, let's get him out the door. That's just weird. And sure, I think they did a fine enough job of just figuring out some temporary solutions, but, man, it's not a very good unit. It's even kind of like hard to predict what the starting five is even going to look like right now. Like, I genuinely have no clue what it's going to look like. So, Yeah, a lot of concerns here. I mean, other than that, it's a good roster, so it's just the offensive line.
The only conspiracy theory I have on this, because like they just blatantly ignored it. Do they not want to pay CJ $8 million, like $800 million? So they're like, hey, if he gets sacked 50 times, we don't have to pay him as much, and it's a contract extension. Now that's going way overboard.
I wouldn't go that far. That would be some 5D chess that they're playing, and it would also be just stupid because you're killing your franchise quarterback.
Couldn't have said it better, man. But I'm like, why are you doing this? But yeah, man. Let's go to our next team, who's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. 3, 2, 1, a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a page out of your book and just say Anthony Richardson. Like they need him to step up big time. I put on my thing linebacker too, but I changed it on the fly here because man, this team it wins or loses based off what Anthony looks like, and I think we're gonna be in agreement here. I like Anthony. I think as a prospect coming out of college, I was a big fan of him. I was a big fan of the fit with Indianapolis with Shane Steichen, but man, it's just he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and when he's been on the field, it hasn't been particularly pretty, especially in certain games. He's had good moments, but this is a team, man, where there's a lot of talent, and it's been really talented for years, and so it's just kind of like now or never for Anthony. And it almost kind of feels in a way like it's not now or never for Indianapolis, but it feels like, man, you have this really short window of maybe 3, 4, 5 years with this team. Even though there's some young pieces here, it's like, man, Quentin Nelson's getting older, Jonathan Taylor's getting older, Pittman's just getting older. You got to pay these guys more money. So it's like, man, we really need to get this team rolling this year. We need to try to contend for a championship this year. Can Anthony reach that ceiling that so many of us were just, clamoring about when he came out of the draft? So it comes down to AR-15 for me.
AR-15 good, win. AR-15 bad, lose.
Yep. That's a motto to live by if you're a Colts fan. Every single game you go into the game, you're like, okay, if Anthony plays good, we're going to win. If he doesn't play good, we're probably going to lose by 50. Like that's just the case.
And man, that's just a reality. He's when he gets going, man. AR-15s, he's a fun player to watch.
Yeah, yep, he is. He can move around well. He has some throws on film that are just disgusting, but
filthy.
The problem is it's there's great play here, and then he's running into the back of his offensive lineman.
Yep. What the hell here?
Interception. What the hell here? Oh, what the crap? He just made that throw, and then it's back to the cycle. It's just, and then some games he can just be pinpoint accurate, playing great. He's just a weird player, and he also just has to stay healthy. So,
that's right. Let's pivot to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3, 2, 1.
Interior defensive line. Oh,
wow, we are in sync now, man.
Yeah, we are really kicking it a flow here. I'm a little surprised. I thought you were going to go with something like offensive line. I felt like, man, they did not address the position much in the draft.
No,
I mean, we were all predicting Mason Graham, and then getting Travis Hunter is pretty sweet, so it's hard to really blame them.
Totally.
But it was a pretty deep defensive line class, and they really didn't address it, which I thought was pretty interesting. So that's why I put him here.
No, couldn't have said it better, man. Jacksonville, it was a weird offseason for them because every mock, like at least we did together, the fans were like, we don't want a D tackle. I'm like, well, you kind of need one.
Yeah.
Well, I will say their fans' dreams came true. They got Travis Hunter, which no one saw coming, which is awesome. What a great move. And then I forget, did they trade away their second round pick or did they still get it? I think they lost it in the trade.
I can't remember. I'm sure they did because Browns
I don't see
had
a
2.
second. Because that would have been an obvious D tackle pick because there's just so much depth.
Yeah, they didn't have a very deep draft class because of the trade, but I still think, man, you could have taken one at some point. Like, because it was such a deep class, you could have found some legit talent in like round 4 or 5.
Totally.
But it's okay. Like, again, this team is not trying to contend for a championship next year. You're really hoping, in year 2 of Liam Cohen and year 2 of Travis Hunter that you can put it all together. But, I think it's a developing roster with some good pieces. I could have also went running back here as well because I just don't believe in Travis Etienne. But interior defensive line felt like a bit more of a bigger need, just given, like we just talked about, how the NFL is moving towards more of a big boy league. I mean, I shouldn't say they're moving towards it, but they're kind of going back to it. So, this team needs one, and I think they'll probably be aggressive in getting that next year.
Cool. Stepping up to the plate, Kansas City Chiefs. 3, 2, 1.
D-line?
Weapons.
Okay.
Ooh, we got an offset. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I said D-line. I like Karlaftis. I like Omenahu. I like Chris Jones. I think they did a good job of surrounding these guys in the draft by bringing in Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati. Just would like to see one more guy, right? I think they need one more difference maker on the defensive line to kind of get back to being this dominant defensive unit, which they'll be good next year, but just a bit more dominant. Weapon, I also could have went tight end, but I believe in Noah Gray enough, and I like Jared Wiley, so and running back was also in consideration, but they took a running back in like round 7, and I was like, I think it was Brashard Smith, and I was like, that's awesome value, and he could be a legit playmaker for them. So I went with defensive line. I just think they need a few more difference makers, and they haven't quite been able to find that in the draft. So if they can find a true difference maker on this defense, not necessarily like a 10-sack season guy, but like just somebody who can pair up with George Karlaftis and Chris Jones, especially because Chris Jones is just getting older at this point. So that's why I went with the defensive line.
Impacts player. I totally get what you're saying. And then also kind of what you said, flip of Jones more to Travis Kelce. Just getting older, right? Eventually it'll be time to turn the page. Do we get another tight end weapon we really like? Is that Jared Wiley for them? I don't know. Is it Noah Gray? It could be. I think you need somebody else. Yes, you got Worthy, who's turned out pretty solid. You got Rashee Rice, who I think he was hurt last year, right? He was out for the year. He only played like 2 or 3 games. He's looked good in his rookie season. I'm just not a big Rashee Rice guy. I think Hollywood Brown he's Hollywood Brown. He's solid. He's okay. And then you got Juju, Jalen Royals, not a Jalen Royals guy, Sky Moore. That's kind of the list. So really, it's Worthy. It's Kelce, who will turn the page here pretty soon and retire. We got to add some more firepower. Now, there is an argument for like Aaron Rodgers back in the day. His team was always like, dude, if you're the GOAT, supposedly, then make it happen with these players. They could follow that trend, which I respect entirely. But I think if you want to win some Super Bowls, it would be helpful to have just one more awesome piece, a.k.a. like, oh, man, the prime of Tyreek Hill and Kelce in his prime. Those were fun NFL years. That's just kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I'm a little higher on Rashee Rice, so that's kind of why I think if Rice can come back next year healthy, he was really good his rookie year, and then early into last year, it looked like he was a big part of the offense. So if they can get him back, then sweet. But yeah, I can see your perspective as well.
Awesome. Let's go to the next team, which is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Raiders. No, Raiders. Oh, wait. Is it Chargers or Raiders first?
It says Chargers, Rams, Raiders.
Oh, I have my... Man, I asked ChatGPT. I said, hey, put every team in alphabetical order. Man, never trust AI.
Never do it. The robots just coming. They're just out to get us, man.
All right. LA Chargers. Let's move them.
3, 2, 1. Elite
Defensive
pass
line.
rusher. There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I put edge, so yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. They just need Khalil Mack is at the tail end of his career. They just need like one more go-getter.
That's right. I'm the same way, and I don't want to keep it too short for Chargers, but you want a piece on the D-line for really making an impact and shifting the game entirely. Help Mack out. Get yourself a dude.
Yeah, Tuli Tuipulotu, good player. I think he has a very high ceiling. Kyle Kennard was, in my opinion, a bit of a steal late into the draft. Now, he's not going to be a 10-sack-a-season guy, but in the 4th round, he has a lot of productivity. Jamar Caldwell isn't really a pass rusher, more of a big run stuffer. So I just think they need one more like big-time difference maker, especially like off the edge, which you can find in next year's draft. I don't think it was the biggest deal, but once Mack retires, which is probably after this year or the year after that, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a bigger need. So I just think one more go-to pass rusher would be nice. I also consider a receiver, but Ladd McConkey's that dude, and I think Quentin Johnson gets a lot of hate for, some respectable reasons, but I think there's a bit more in the tank there. And then Trey Harris, I think, was a fine pickup for this team.
Couldn't have said better, man. Let's go to the other LA team, the LA Rams. 3, 2, 1. Offensive line.
Future quarterback.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll save that one because that one's too fun. I'll let you go to that second. Rams, your line, pretty solid left tackle. I could feel better about it. If they pick Josh Simmons, I'm doing backflips, but for obvious reasons they did not. And that's just kind of where I stand. When you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford or potentially a future quarterback, you got to protect their blind side. Matthew Stafford has limited mobility. That's not his strong suit. And when the guy feels comfortable in the pocket, he lets that ball fly. So what do you have to say, Metro? I like your answer. Take me through your process.
Yeah, they also need a future replacement for Rob Havenstein. He's just getting older and a bit more injury prone. I just think Matthew Stafford, 1 or 2 more years left in the tank. They don't really have the guy. Jimmy G's not going to be the guy. At least you hope not. Stetson Bennett probably won't be the guy. So I think if you can draft somebody next year, which by the way, it's a deep quarterback class, you can legitimately, Garrett Nussmeier might fall into their laps. They might not even have to trade up. Oh yeah, 2 first-round picks, by the way, which they could trade up. They don't even have to, though, if they don't want to, because there's probably going to be a quarterback that falls to them. I mean, again, if Arch Manning comes out, you're talking Arch, Lenoris, you're talking, assuming these guys do come out, by the way. Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Drew Aller probably would have been a first-round pick this year. Who'd you say?
Sellers, potentially.
Yeah, Sellers. Nico from, I guess now, UCLA. We'll see if that works out. Just a lot of talent, man. So
Even
many good pieces.
You remove Arch, Nico, and Sellers, that's still 4 potential, right? You got to see how this pans out. 4 potential first-round quarterbacks, pretty damn deep.
And I got to be honest with you, man. Arch Manning with Sean McVay, man.
In Dynasty, I'm trading the damn farm to get that dude on my team.
Yeah. Now, granted, we haven't seen Arch play a lot, but it's just the Manning name with Sean McVay, it's
too nice.
Filthy. Yeah. So that's why I went quarterback. I just think 1 or 2 more good years of Stafford, and then we'll have to kind of wait and see what they look like. And they're in a prime position to do so next year. So they're in a good spot. Real quick, before we get into it, I meant to talk about this a few seconds. Do you want to do a quick little shameless plug?
Would love to. Guys, we make awesome content for NFL, college football, all things, and NFL draft on this channel, but we also have our own content on our own channels. Metro at MetroSports, he does all NFL analysis. In the description below, go subscribe, check out his stuff. It is awesome content. And then if you want NFL draft content, I'm your guy. In the description as well, at Cade Rathbone, go check it out. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Raiders. As you mentioned before, Las Vegas Raiders, 3, 2, 1. Elite cornerback. Whoa! Wow, yeah, we're cooking now.
I had a receiver written down, but I quickly changed it to corner because I'm like, Darian Porter, okay, good pickup, but man, it's kind of weak outside of them. Eric Stokes, Jacorian Bennett, Darnay Holmes, Jacorian Bennett could also play nickel, and then DeCamari and Richardson. Just need a lot of work. It needs a go-to guy. So
that's right.
I think they need at least 2 starters, 3 starters, and Darian Porter could be one of those starters.
I hope he is. I think he will actually be. Will he be the one? Who knows? But he would be. I think he's going to be really good too. If you get a guy, this defense is rocking.
Yeah, and it was good value to get Darian Porter in round 3. I thought he could have went a little bit earlier than that, but man, this Raiders team is heading in the right direction. A lot of good pieces with this team. I also considered, like I said, receiver because Myers, Tucker, Jack Betch would like to see a number 1 guy, but I feel good enough about the unit now to just rock it for a year, not to mention like Brock Bowers and Genty. If they can get, just think about it. If they can get a legit wide receiver 1 with Genty and Bowers, can I throw something at you? And they're probably not going to do this because he might be on the tail end of his career. Could you imagine Tyreek Hill on this team?
Oh my! That's where all Hall of Fame receivers go to end their career. AB.
True, that is true. Yep.
Next, you got Tyreek Hill. They won out. They're gonna get out and find a home. That would be sick, dude.
Yeah, wow. It kind of be a perfect fit too with Myers and Betch and Bowers underneath and Ash and Genty. Like this would be. It's a solid offensive line too with some young developing pieces. This is a good team. I'm really excited about this Raiders team and what their future looks like.
That's a good move. I feel like if Miami, who conveniently is next, had any... I'm going to bury the lead. I'm going to talk about it in a second. Next week, you ready to turn the page?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, cool. Miami in 3, 2, 1.
Offensive line. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's kind of where I landed. What I was going to say is, like, if this team was confident that they'd be here in 2 years, I think they send Tyreek Hill away because you don't just get to badmouth the team like that. Do I want to be here? Do I not want to be here? When that happens, the guy's usually gone pretty fast. The fact that he's still here, maybe I'm overreading this, but I think that's just really weird to me. I think there's just a lot of guys. Even Ramsey, he doesn't want to be there. A lot of these superstars don't want to be there. That tells me a lot. So I think kind of a cop-out answer, but I think culture is the move here.
Yeah, I think McDaniels is not much of a culture setter.
No.
He's a player's coach. Yeah, he's a smart guy. He's a schemer. He's a player's coach, but he's not a culture setter. He's not a Dan Campbell. Like, he's a culture setter. He steps in there, demands this, and that. McDaniel is a bit more chill, a bit more relaxed. So when there are some issues, he's not going to be the guy that settles it too much. So I can see your perspective. I went with offensive line. I just kind of took the lazy answer. It's pretty clear. I think they improved from last year, which, I mean, that wasn't too hard to do last year because it was that bad. James Daniels, I think, is a safe pickup because I think he only has like one guaranteed year on his contract. So if he's not good because I think he tore his Achilles last year, then you could just get rid of him. Jonas Savaiania, I think will be a starter. I wasn't terribly high on him, but I think he can be a solid fit within the scheme. He could play tackle or guard. Patrick Paul, we'll see. Austin Jackson, you could upgrade that. It's not like it's not like it's the greatest guy in the world. And then your left guard is kind of up in the air with Liam Eichenberg there right now. So it's just not a complete unit, and there's a lot of question marks to answer. Admittedly speaking, I think this team has some pieces to work with, defensively especially. But if they lose Ramsey, they're going to need cornerback too. So I also considered basically everything in the secondary. But I ultimately stuck with offensive line because they're going to hang their hat on their offense.
Awesome. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings in 3, 2, 1.
Secondary.
J.J. McCarthy.
That's fair. I was thinking about switching it last second to the same thing because you're
Both
100%
great
right.
answers.
Yeah. For me, I went secondary just because I think Vikings fans feel more confident about their secondary than I personally feel. So
Same.
I'm sure there will be some people who disagree with this. But Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, Ambry Thomas, not to mention Mekhi Blackman, just feel a little suspect about that. But I feel a bit more suspect about the safeties because Harrison Smith, still a good player, but he's like damn near almost 40. And then Theo Jackson is a good player too. But would like to see one more this would have been a great spot for Malachi Starks. They obviously traded back.
Oh.
Or no, they obviously took Donovan Jackson, but Malachi Starks would have been nasty on this defense, or even a Nicky Monwari too, but he went, I think, to Seattle. So good fit for him, by the way.
That's right. Dude, the hitman. So much respect to Harrison. Duke and ball. J.J. McCarthy. Last year you have Sam Darnold really step in and have a fantastic year. I mean, one of the best breakout years, kind of weird to say breakout year that late, but the dude set his career back on track and killed it, guys. He racked up so many wins in the Vikings, and to the point where I thought he was probably going to stay. I know they drafted JJ in the first, but I'm like, you strike lightning, you usually keep it. They did send him away and keep the quarterback, the rookie quarterback, now heading into his sophomore season, who got to develop. Yes, he was hurt last year. He lost the whole season, which is really sad. That is going to hurt his progress, but I will say, there are not a lot of better landing spots than the Minnesota Vikings when you want to develop. So I do think he'll take a step. How far does he go? He doesn't have to be elite, right? He could just be okay. But just keep yourself upright, have a good season, learn as you go. That's how you win with J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, it's a good roster. It just kind of comes down to what does J.J. McCarthy look like. If he's great, the team will be great. If he's not so great, the team will be good, but it won't be great. So I agree with you.
Cool. Next, we have the New England Patriots in 3, 2, 1.
Edge rusher.
Weapons.
Okay, that's fair.
That's just kind of where I land. When you look at this roster, Drake May, yes, they got, I believe it's Kyle Williams right at wide receiver from Washington State. They also got a couple other pieces. They got Baker last year as well.
Diggs,
pretty solid. I'm kind of on the, I don't want to say I don't think Diggs is the Diggs we had on the Buffalo Bills, but he's still Diggs, right? So I want to get my man Drake a guy where he can just be like, oh, third down, like Kirk O'Chains when it was third down with the Minnesota Vikings, he was tossing it up. Even fourth down, I'm sure y'all saw that catch in Buffalo. Oh, that was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. Where you chuck it up on fourth down and you're like, it's a prayer, but if anyone's going to catch it, this guy's going to catch it. I want a guy like that for Drake May. That would make this team just indestructible.
Yeah, I feel better about the weapons this year than last year. Trayvon Henderson is a dog in the running back room. Diggs and Williams are big-time upgrades. I do agree. I don't think Diggs is a number one option at this point. I think he's more of a better suited as like a second or maybe even a third option on a really good team. Kyle Williams, I love the pick. We'll see what he can do in his rookie year. They could really use a difference maker in the tight end room, so I think that's also pretty fair. I went edge rusher because I just don't know what I'm getting from Harold Landry at this point in his career. And then outside of him, you have, of course, Anthony Jennings, who had 2.5 sacks last year. Keon White, who had, I think, 5 sacks last year. So he's a good player. And then, of course, Kalavion Chason, my guy, Braden Swinson, who, do you know why he actually ended up falling, by the way?
No, tell me.
There was a bunch of maturity questions with him. So as a talent, I guess people thought he was immature, which I guess I'll take their word for it. I know. That was crazy. Brandon Swinson as a talent, we'll see if the maturity stuff can pan out. But as a talent, that's a top 50 player for this team. So for me, I just think, man, if they could have got Abdul Carter, this team would have been good. I mean, it already is good. But, man, Abdul Carter, man, I was praying for it to happen. It did not happen, unfortunately. There's still a great team that's heading in the right direction. And a lot of people think they're making the playoffs. We will see about that. Not too sure about that one. But they will definitely be better next year. But, man, one more great edge rusher, and this team is just, man, defensively, they'll be really good. If they can just get one more good edge rusher.
That's what they need. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints in 3, 2, 1. Arch Manning.
I said running back. Arch Manning is also fair. You could say Arch Manning for, like, a lot of teams.
The reason I left it for New Orleans is because I do think he comes down in 2027, but it would be sweet, right? Especially sweet because in 1971 Metro, Archie Manning out of Mississippi was selected in the first round to the Saints. Let's run it back with that's going to be his son because that's his grandpa, right?
Yeah.
That was a hot minute ago. What a lineage. So his grandpa goes to the first round of the Saints. It'd be pretty cool if his grandson went there as well.
Yeah, I went with
he's good at football.
I went with running back. I could have went a lot of different ways here, like another receiver, because there's a lot of questions there. Something on the offensive line, but I think they've done a decent enough job, especially with the Kelvin Banks pick. I would have went quarterback too, but they just drafted Shock round 2, so I kind of felt like, man, it's hard to say they need a quarterback when they just drafted one. And defensively, I also thought about corner because Alontae Taylor was okay last year. I think he plays a bit more in the nickel, and then outside of Kool-Aid, you're probably asking Yiadam or, I don't know, somebody else to step up. So for me, I looked at the running back room. Kamara is still a stud. He's still a great player, but there's really nothing for the future. You have Kendre Miller, you have Devin Neal, and I like Devin Neal. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he's necessarily their style of guy. He's just not a difference maker either. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also here. Would like to see this team draft a running back at some point. I would have liked to have seen maybe a bit more of a difference-making guy this year because it was such a deep class. But I think next year you could probably find somebody there as well. So I went with running back. I didn't really feel great about my answer, but I also just didn't really know what else to say. Like I could have went edge rusher as well, but
yeah,
I didn't feel great about it. So I just ultimately just kind of went with like a cop-out answer at running back.
Ain't no cop-out. That's a complete valid answer.
Thank you.
Next up, we're nearing the end. Here we have the New York Giants in 3, 2, 1.
Offensive line.
Ah,
right. Back
bingo.
on track a little bit.
Bingo.
I'll let you take it. Real quick, my thoughts. It's a damn good roster that's going to be relying on Jackson Dart. Interior offensive line, to me, is their biggest need. And, of course, you can always find an upgrade over Jermaine Illuminor. But for me, it just kind of comes down to the interior of the offensive line. Not the greatest.
Yeah, if you want to develop a quarterback right, you want to keep them upright and be able to process in the pocket. Jackson Dart came from a system that wasn't an NFL system, correct? He's got to learn this, and it's going to take him more time than most people think. He might sit on the bench longer than most people think as well, just my personal opinion. And with that, if you want your quarterback to develop, keep him behind a great wall on the O-line. And that's just kind of the most glaring need. You want this to work out. You want your first-round investment to work. That's how you do it.
Yep, 100% agree. Yeah, I'm not the biggest guy on Jackson Dart, but if you want him to succeed, if you want Scatabo to succeed, you want Tracy to succeed, you want this whole offense to succeed, if you want to keep your job, this offensive line needs a lot of work. And I like the Marcus Mbow pick. He can definitely be a player for them. I just think he might be a year or two away because he needs to put on a bit more mass.
He does.
But I don't know. Do you think Evan Neal can move inside to play guard? I mean, he was terrible at tackle, but I just think, man, he's so strong and physically gifted. I would just like to see him at guard.
I personally don't want to bank on that.
I wouldn't either, but
yeah.
I don't know. Just maybe like in preseason, like can he play guard? Because like we saw it with Mekhi Becton, kind of a similar thing, and then we saw it with he was the Commanders guard for a while. I can't remember his name, but he was terrible at tackle, moved inside to play guard, and had a few good years. Not saying that'll be Evan Neal, but I would at least like to see him at least give it a shot. Maybe at least in the preseason snaps he gets. But
so Neal is 6'7". Mekhi Becton
huge.
Also 6'7". So if there's light, at the end of the tunnel.
Looking back on it, you could see the flaws in his game when he was coming out of college. But man, he was drafted round 1 for a reason. He was so strong. He could move well at Bama. For whatever reason, he just is a statue with the Giants. I don't know if it was a technique issue, something with his mentality, with his game. I don't know what the issue was this year or just his entire career, frankly. But man, I mean, I wasn't the highest on him coming out of college, but I thought, he's going to be a good player that can, be a future tackle opposite of Andrew Thomas. And it has been anything but it. He's been abysmal. So, I mean, you can give up on him or you could put him at guard, and I would at least try him at guard.
Couldn't have said it better, man. Hopefully that works out. Next, we have the New York Jets in 3, 2, 1.
Receiver. Quarterback. That's fair. Yeah.
Wide receiver is a really good answer. That's probably where I'm actually going to lean. Just because I don't hate the field signing. I actually think it's really, really good for their situation. I just know when they want to turn the page, they'll need an X factor dude.
Yeah, I also consider quarterback. Only reason why I didn't go quarterback was because they did at least bring in Justin Fields. So at least bare minimum, we will see.
You're not the Steelers?
Right. I don't think he'll ever be. I don't really believe that Justin Fields will ever be the guy, but I at least think he could be an option for a year or two. So, and the next year's class is good at quarterback, so you can draft one then. I went with receiver because, man, you take out Garrett Wilson, it is.
What do you got?
I mean, Alan Lazard was good with Rodgers when he was with the Packers, but he hasn't been anything since then. Josh Reynolds is an okay player. Last year, 194 yards, and he's had some good seasons, but, I mean, these past 2 years has just not been particularly great. You did bring in Mason Taylor, which was a good pickup, but you can't really rely on your other options, so it's going to be a lot of one tight end sets, but 11 personnel, not a lot of 12. And you drafted Arian Smith, but man, this dude has no ball skills. Like, he can run for days, but he ain't catching shit. So, good. I like their draft, especially with the Armamembu pick, and I think they made some good moves, but it's still missing a receiver. It's missing weapons. Not to mention, I think Breece Hall is nearing the end of his time with the Jets as well.
Yeah, that's right. And that was also surprising, but not surprising. Like, on a rebuild, you don't necessarily need to pay running back a bunch of money. But yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I actually heard rumors the Cowboys were interested in him before the draft.
Ooh.
And I was low-key like, I wouldn't be too mad at this. And then they drafted Jaden Blue, and I'm like, I still wouldn't be mad at Breece Hall coming in, but
you still have room for him.
I know. We could really use somebody like him. He can just not stay healthy. Like, that's kind of been the bummer of his career. And now they kind of have some other guys, some other options there. But, man, if Breece Hall could just stay healthy, like, he'd be an awesome player.
That's right. Let's talk about a team that just won the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles in 3, 2, 1. Nothing.
Cornerback? Yeah. I wrote down cornerback 3. So
yeah. That's the right answer. I was just trying to be funny for once, but yes, that's the answer.
I mean, there's not a lot of issues with this team, and this is a team that just consistently brings in more talented players, and even cornerback 3, they have options. It's not like they need it that badly, but I just felt like, man, outside of Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, you have Keely Ringo, but he was talented out of high school, went to Georgia, should have went to Texas, but he went to Georgia, and he hasn't really been a whole bunch of anything. He's made some plays. Eli Ricks, Adoree Jackson, Mac McWilliams, you just, I believe, took. So there's talent here, but I would just, maybe one more guy would be nice. But, I mean, edge rusher, I guess. I mean, maybe.
I guess.
Sure. Take one, I guess. Right guard, you just fill in Kenyon Green there. Watch Kenyon Green end up being an absolute freaking dog for this team.
He's going to be. He's going to be.
He was terrible with the Texans, but he is going to absolutely cook with the Philadelphia Eagles. And even if he does suck, like, you also have Tyler Steen as well, who can also play. I also consider wide receiver 3, but, I mean, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, is that not good enough for you? Like,
no.
Are you kidding me? So, yeah, I went with CB3. That tells you how good this team is when I'm complaining about their third-string quarterback corner.
Good, dude.
Good team. Not to mention, this team actually has I just kind of thinking this on the spider. They have a deep quarterback room. DTR, Kyle McCord, and Jalen Hurts, and Tanner McKee. They're 4 deep. I wonder who's the odd man out.
Me too. Also, if someone, let's say, I'm not wishing anything. If, like, Hurts did go down and have to take a couple games off, or even like a playoff game off, I think they'd be just fine. Now, you're not talking like an awesome backup, but I know whoever's backing up will be ready to go in that role.
Yeah, it's funny. They don't even draft quarterbacks like Hurts. They draft
It's weird.
They draft white quarterbacks that are just, I don't know, statues in the pocket, but it just works out, and they just do a good job with it. They did it last year with Kenny Pickett, and they're doing it this year with McKee, and they'll probably get McKee some money somewhere else, and then they'll just have Kyle McCord step in and be that guy next year.
Bring him in. Bring Will Levis. Bring him in.
Dude, honestly, low-key, Will Levis might not be a bad fit with this team. He might actually be a good fit.
If he's going to fit anywhere.
Yeah, it would work out.
Pittsburgh? Do we need to talk about this?
No, we don't. We don't need to talk about it. It's quarterback.
It's quarterback, baby.
I mean, who's their quarterback?
Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer?
Howard?
Well, I think Howard's their best choice.
I've been pretty vocal about this. I don't think they should get Rodgers. I would not be interested in him if I was them. I would rock a season with Howard. If we suck, we suck. Cool. It's a loaded draft class next year. We'll get our guy next year. If he's great, we have our future quarterback. Worst case scenario, you're another 9-win team, which they'll probably be with Aaron Rodgers. So, what's the point in even, wasting your time and ruining culture? And yeah, they're going to be mediocre no matter what. And with Rodgers, you're going to be good enough to where you're going to win 8+ games. So you're going to be kind of stuck in that middle. With Howard starting, there's a chance this team is abysmal, which is better than being mid. So
Couldn't have said better.
I almost feel like, in a sense, they shouldn't get a quarterback, even though it's their biggest need. It's just kind of how it is.
I feel that. A 2026 need, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're still talking quarterback. I mean, what would be something else outside of quarterback, since that's the obvious one?
It's not wide receiver, I can tell you that.
No, they could use like a slot if you don't believe in Roman Wilson.
Well, they have Roman, don't they?
Yeah, but he didn't play at all last year, so... And
you do have Calvin Austin.
You have Calvin Austin as well.
I'm basic. They bolstered the D-line. This team's good everywhere else, too. I think O-line's the way to go there. Just make it even better.
Yeah, and they've had some issues with their tackles with Broderick Jones. He hasn't really worked out, so you could find an upgrade there. But yeah, it's quarterback like one, and then everything else is like way below it because they ain't got one besides Will Howard.
Let's go, Willie. Upgrades, people upgrades. Let's go to the Seattle Seahawks in 3.
Oh, shouldn't we do San Francisco?
For me, it says Seattle's SE over SF.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. So Seattle next?
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Interior
offensive line.
Yep. Wow, man. Yep. They got Gray Zabel, as we know.
Yeah, great pickup.
But there's just more to do. There's more work to be done. You built the foundation of the house. Let's keep building up the walls and the roof, and then you're feeling really good for your boy Sam Darnold.
Yeah, defense is pretty loaded. I expect this defense to take a nice step forward with their new head coach from last year. Gray Zabel was an awesome pickup, and he's going to fix their interior in a lot of ways. But I think you can still find upgrades in the center. You can still find upgrades at right guard. And Abraham Lucas is just always injured. So we'll see. I also would have liked to see, and maybe Torrey Horton could be this guy, like a really big 50-50 ball winner on the outside. But that's kind of nitpicky. I'm still with you. Interior offensive line, primarily guard or maybe even a center.
I can't wait to watch the wide receiver core, man.
It's going to be interesting. I did a video on them a few weeks ago, and the way I kind of think about it is like, how are you going to cover Cooper Kupp and JSN when they're both fully healthy? Because it's just two dudes who, like, how are you going to cover that? Like, because they're going to run a lot of intermediates, they're going to run a lot of underneath stuff, and then they're going to run a seam route here and there that's going to catch you off guard. It's just going to allow so many other guys to succeed because they're going to open up so much more space for a Noah Fant or Elijah Arroyo or Valdez Scantling deep.
Arroyo, I forgot about that.
Like, they just have – I don't think they have – now, my thing with them is they don't have a guy who can get you out of a pinch, right? Like, when Kirk Cousins with the Vikings was in a pinch, he just throw it up to Jefferson. When Dak's in a pinch, he gives it to Lamb. When Hurts is in a pinch, he throws it up to A.J. Brown. I don't know if JSN's quite that guy, but, man, if this team stays on schedule, which they will have a good chance of doing so because they have a quarterback who I think is smart. Just two guys who just know how to find space and sit in pockets. And, I mean, they catch everything, and they're just super reliable. And then, if somebody like Marquez and Elijah Arroyo who can create space vertically, and Jake Bobo's also there. And I think Torrey Horton was a really talented player that had injuries last year that brought him down the board. So I just look at this team, and I'm like, man, it's going to be really interesting to see. It's either going to work really well or really bad. So That's going to be the fun part with this team. And anyway, I like their defense. So it's just, man, what does this offense look like? It's such a big question mark, but it's like I believe in it. So it's going to be fun.
Heck yeah. Let's go to the
San
Fran, as we mentioned before, in 3, 2, 1. O-line.
Offensive line. Yep.
We're cooking with gas, man. I also said youth, but that just seemed too generic. I think this team is kind of they're like when you take the Greek yogurt out the fridge, right, and you look at it, and it's like 6 days late, and you kind of smell it. You're like, I think I can still eat it, and it gets the job done in the smoothie, but you eat it like just with a spoon, you're not enjoying it. That's kind of how I feel about the San Francisco 49ers.
This felt like a personal thing that you've definitely experienced.
This morning, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, San Fran, they're getting older, and that's okay, but you just got to replenish those areas with good youth, which is way easier said than done. That's just kind of where I lean.
Yeah, it's this was an offseason where they lost a lot, and they're still super top-heavy where there's a lot of talent, but they're missing those supplemental pieces around them. And I think they did a fine job in the draft of, getting some interior run stuffers with Collins and West and, getting some dudes in free agency. But, yeah, for me, the offensive line, it just largely remained untouched, which is a bit of a shame because I thought that was one of their biggest needs. They didn't really address it. In fact, they lost some pieces. So, yeah, they didn't really address it too much. It was not a great unit last year. It doesn't project to be a good unit this year. In general, this is a Niners team that's going in the wrong direction. So losing a couple pieces is not the worst case scenario. This team will not be particularly great next year, but I think they'll still be competitive. It's just I do worry about paying Brock Purdy $40-50 million just to get him killed by week 9. Right? That's just my concern.
That's correct. Right on the head.
Tampa Bay?
Let's go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 3, 2, 1.
Edge rusher? Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to change to linebacker, too. I didn't think about that. They really could use a linebacker.
Either or. I just leaned into we did mock drafts all offseason, and I think Jahad Campbell was like, he's not making it past 19. And I still, to this day, don't know how it happened. I know, Metro, he was your 5th guy on your big board, so I'm sure that just drove you crazy. He was pretty high for me, too. That just seemed like an absolute lock, and I'm surprised they didn't even address it once during the draft. Not one linebacker. Yes, they got edge, but not the inside linebacker you were looking for.
Yeah, Levante David returns for another year. Even then, I felt like you could have upgraded that unit. You got Anthony Walker, you got J.J. Russell. I don't know. Just really could have used the difference maker there. They didn't quite get it. I think they improved their defensive line in totality by bringing in Hassan Reddick. You're banking on Chris Boswell, Yaya Diaby, so on and so forth. But, man, I would have really liked to have seen a linebacker taken. But it's at the same time, though, I kind of can't blame them with how the board fell. Now, granted, they should have took Jahad Campbell at 19. They took Emeka. He's going to be a good player. Interesting pick. Then they took Benjamin Morrison, which I love that pick, and then Jacob Parrish fell right into their lap. So it was like, it's kind of hard to blame him, but it's like, I would have liked to have seen, like, a Jahad Campbell would have really been a nice pickup. But they passed on him. Maybe it's a medical issue that we're not too tapped in on, but would have been nice to have seen them go linebacker. I did put down edge just because I would like to see, there's a lot of unknown to this edge rushing room with Hassan Reddick and Diaby and Chris Boswell. Would have liked to have seen like one more true go-getter, but yeah, I do agree with your take on linebacker. I'm going to switch to that.
Since I'm short-sighted, if they didn't pick Emeka Egbuka and they went with Jahad Campbell, and I don't have medical like you said, this draft would have been like an A for me.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I mean, it would have been very much like, man, I hope these dudes aren't hurt because you have Benjamin Morrison with his hip and Jahad Campbell with his shoulder. But it's like, if these dudes are healthy, man, that's
those 2 games a year. They're on the same field. It's going to be real nice.
It's going to be real nice. If you could just get them healthy by the playoffs, that's all you need.
That's all that matters. Just keep them on the bench, dude.
Yeah, we'll see. I do like the Emeka pick. I've slept on it more and I've liked it more, but I still feel like, man, Jahad Campbell was right there, and you passed on him. It's my fifth-ranked player, and I know a lot of other people were very high on him. But nope, you went with the Mecca. Great player, just, man, you already have Chris Godwin. Like, what are we doing here?
That's right. And then a team that probably would like a Mecca Igbukah, let's pivot to them next, and I kind of just told you what my answer is going to be. Let's go to the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans in 3, 2, 1.
Edge rusher.
I said weapons. So
That's fair.
take me through edge rusher.
Yeah, you bring in Femi Oladejo. I think he's a big-time development piece who just needs a lot of time. Your interior is nasty. Devondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, Keandre Coburn, Jeffrey Simmons. It's a pretty good unit. I just felt like there wasn't anybody off the edge who you can consistently rely upon to get you 5+ sacks. Arden Key last year, 6.5. We'll see if he can continue. He's getting a little bit older. Draymond Jones had 4 sacks last year. And then, I just think you're banking on Olu to be something that I don't think he's quite yet ready to become. So I would have liked to have seen a bit more, like a Nick Scourton would have been just perfect, or a Princely would have been nice, but they decided to pass on those guys in favor for the higher upside in Olu. I could definitely see a receiver as well. Like, this team could really use something next to Cam Ward. Only reason why I didn't say that was because the Alec Ayomaner pick was nasty.
It was good.
They clearly believe in Shamir Dike to take him that high, because I did not think he should have went that early. And then they also picked up Cam Ward's boy in what's his name, the Miami guy.
Restrepo.
Yeah, Restrepo, and he's probably going to end up making the roster. So that's why I went with edge rusher.
It's a good move. And like you said, just for wide receiver, a lot of guys where I'm like, I feel good at wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, just not the breakthrough guy. Like, Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson, question mark. Tyler Lockett, he'll always be open. Alec Ayomaner, if he develops, that could be the guy I'm discussing. Treylon Burks, I think we know he's not going to be an elite weapon, but he could be a solid wide receiver. Shamir Dike in the 4th round, like we were just discussing. And then after that, Restrepo, I feel like Restrepo, like you said, is going to make the roster as well. That could be a glue guy on the roster for a long time. If Alec develops into the one, that would be everything I could hope for and more.
Yep. Washington, let's bang this one out real quick.
Very last one. 3, 2, 1.
Edge
running
rusher.
Back.
I'm going 3 in a row edge rushers here. I do not believe in this edge rushing group at all. Dorrance is a good rotational piece. Don't think he should be your full-time go-to option. Cleveland Farrell, same thing. Theatrics-wise, he's going to be somebody who has to get pressure on quarterback. I like their interior defensive line, but I think their edge rushers are very questionable, especially because they just don't have a consistent guy who can get to the quarterback. You said weapons?
I said running back.
Running back. Yeah, that is fair. Did they draft a running back in this class? Because I don't think they did. At least not.
Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt in the 7th.
Is that a running back? I never heard.
That is. I believe he's from Arizona. Let me double check. He is from Arizona, correct?
Interesting. Okay. Well, I did not scout him, so I don't know anything about the guy. But
he's cool.
Yeah, B-Rob, Eckler, cool. Man, I would have liked to have seen another running back, though, for sure. I agree with you.
Just a little bit of juice in here would make this team. I mean, you probably, like, your answer's more of a need. My answer is just like, come on, man. 7-on-7 team would be sick with another running back.
Yeah, well, even then, it's like, okay, Robinson's a good running back, but can he do it all by himself? And then Eckler at this stage of his career, I don't know what you're getting from him.
That's right.
McNichols, Chris Rodriguez, we'll see. I don't know. I look at this roster, and it's a pretty fun roster with a lot of good pieces, but there are some holes that I thought they would have addressed a little bit more serious, but they didn't quite do so, which is fine. I just think, like, for example, the first round you took Josh Connerly. He'll be a good player for them. He'll be a starting guard or tackle for this team for a while, but you could have took a running back, or you could have taken an edge rusher, which I think are maybe bigger needs. But, I understand that they were late in the first round. He was the best player on their board, so they went with him. So, I don't know. It's a good roster. I think it could have been a little bit better given how much money they had. But, I mean, when you have Jaden Daniels, he can just cover up all your mistakes anyway, so who cares?
That's right. He's like a Wendy's 4-4 man. He does it all. All right, Metro, anything else before we bounce?
No, fun little exercise here. Of course, if you guys disagree or agree with anything we said, you just let us know in the comments, and I'm sure we'll get some sort of comments, but hopefully you guys can at least understand our perspectives.
Totally. And if you want more perspective on like why these are the team's needs, right? We graded every single team. If you want to check out their draft grades, we'll put that in the corner right here. We graded every single team in the NFL draft, what we liked, our favorite picks, and what we didn't like, and then also how this team will be better moving forward. And we're going to be doing team-by-team previews. The Browns are up first. We dropped that on Monday. Go check that out in the corner as well, and also down below. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. It helps out a ton. It helps the algorithm out a ton as well. Thank you very much. And like Metro just said, drop your thoughts below in the comments. What did you agree with? What did you disagree with? What teams need certain pieces that you think are different than what we said? Drop it in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Have the best day. Love y'all. Metro, say goodbye to the people.
Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.